Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. We recorded this episode at the end of March 2025, before President Donald Trump announced his sweeping tariff policy, which went into effect this past weekend. The market responded with uncertainty and a sell-off, crashing in just a week from 390 to below 350, just as the Magic 8 Ball predicted. I'm Christopher Farron.
I'm Kylie Clancy.
This is Buying Season.
When I cannot rationalize an answer in my personal life, the only thing that soothes my peace of mind for needing to have an answer is I give my good old little Magic 8 Ball a shake.
Should we ask the 8 Ball what the C market's going to do?
So I feel like we should ask the 8 Ball what the C market's going to do.
I think it's a good idea.
Let me go grab it.
All right.
For a second, I thought I lost my Magic 8 Ball, and that was about to be a whole other. This thing really offers me like a weird sense of comfort when I'm like, I just need to know. I just need to know.
Yeah, Amir and I have a coin that we flip. We call it the fates, and we have to obey the fates. No matter so if we don't know what to make for dinner, or should we go out, should we stay, and we ask the fates, and we must respect its authority.
Yeah, that's my Magic 8 Ball. Like, is she right 100% of the time?
Yes, she is.
Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, usually I'll I'll be like, okay, just to double check, I'll ask it questions like, is my name Kylie? You know, is today March 28th? And then it'll be like, yes. And then I'm like,
but like the beginning of the polygraph, you're like, all right, we got your baseline. Yeah.
We gotta get a little calibration going on here. But anyway, C market, what should we ask it?
Is the C market going to dip below 350 this year?
The Magic 8 Ball says it is certain.
All right. That's it. Everybody.
You heard it here first. The Magic 8 Ball has spoken. If that happens, this Magic 8 Ball deserves.
I mean, we're going to market it.
Yeah.
The Buying Season Oracle. I mean, we talked about that in another episode. What would you do if you could predict the future? But for today's show, I wanted to tell a story where we don't know the ending yet, where we might need a Magic 8 Ball.
Oh my gosh.
So to help us tell this tale, I reached out to my friend Matt North from Raw Material.
It's going to be a good story. I'm excited.
It is April 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Harvest is underway in Burundi again.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the coffee from last year?
So roughly about 50% of last year's crop is still in warehouses ready to sell.
Yeah, I think we need to back up a bit here.
Yeah.
I first started hearing some rumblings back in, I want to say, October.
In October, yeah. I actually think it's worth even taking it even further back, kind of like this time last year.
Okay.
Because it's been a tumultuous season in Burundi anyway.
Right.
And one of the first rumblings that we got in how difficult it was going to be is when they set the cherry price.
Mm-hmm.
So they set the cherry price.
Then the government sets the cherry price.
Yeah, ODECA, the government agency sets the cherry price, and that's mandatory. You can't pay higher or lower; it's got to be set. And there was a general feeling of, I don't want to say outroar, but I do want to say that there was a lot of dismay from the private exporters, especially, because they saw this as being exceptionally high. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, this is a lot of money you're asking, and it's going to make us uncompetitive. Bear in mind, at this time, the C was still below 2.
Right.
What was the cherry price?
This is the only year I don't have data for. We're waiting on 2025, but more on that in a second. 2022 was 800 BIF per kilogram. 2023 was 1280, so we have a 37% rise. And then I can't find the data. I've got it written down somewhere. I went back through everything today and I can't find it. But suffice to say, it was high enough that it was a genuine worry that Burundian coffee would be uncompetitive in the market. To solve this, the government utilized their dual FX rate system and artificially set the FX rate lower to lower the FOT price.
Okay, so they basically devalued the currency.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at it, I guess macroeconomically, one of the thoughts was, okay, they want to get more money into the country because of the FOT price for dollars, but they also want to make themselves look good. I mean, elections happen all year round. Apparently, the president's going for election this year, so they want to look good for to all the producers and say, look, we're bringing money in for you. Mm-hmm. And the way we do that is by raising the cherry price. But there's a balance, and I think they didn't strike the balance there, so they had to correct that. And that was the first sign this was going to be a a weird season.
Mm-hmm.
Things from there carried on normally. And then we get to October, as you mentioned.
So I'm looking at a deck on my computer here. Project Brown.
Yeah. Project Brown. This appeared seemingly out of nowhere. It was a deck with 4 entities on there. So you had Odeka, you had Frexim, which is an African bank.
Mm-hmm.
You had what seemed to be a marketing strategy company called Hawksworth.
Yes.
And then an investment company called UIG or UIL, depending on which way you looked into it. And right at the very beginning, it purports to be claiming that UIG are now the sole exporter of Burundian coffee.
Which is weird because Odeka, the government organization, would normally facilitate the approval of export and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically saying that they acquired and are marketing all of the production.
Yeah, everything, all Burundian coffee.
Wait, so
with a go.
Who made this decision?
So,
who
I mean,
just woke up and was like, "Oh, here's what's happening today. Get with the program."
Well, what kind of transpired was earlier on in the year, maybe in August, the Odeka Facebook page shared some images of this.
Not the Facebook page.
Oh yeah,
Facebook page shared some images of one of the heads of UIG, which no one knew that's who they were at the time, visiting Rwanda with a group of American roasters. And there was some sort of talk about an exclusive deal and this new business bringing money into Burundi by selling Burundian coffee, an exclusive deal to sell into America, yada, yada, yada. And no one kind of really believed it. It was like, okay, this is just propaganda, whatever. And then this thing turns up. And at the end of that deck, there's an MOU signed by the Odeka in the president's office and co-signed by this guy who was visiting in August on behalf of...
up.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. He was visiting on behalf of the UIG. Subsequently, we share this with our team in Burundi, and they're like, their words to us was, we knew nothing about this. This deck was shared with prospective salespeople and marketers. Like, if you can sell Burundian coffee for us, we will give you 6% commission, I believe it was, which is wild commission.
So it was a sales pitch and they called it Project Brown?
Yeah, Project Brown. Yeah. And to be clear, I got this deck from like 3 different parties. So like this was being sent around to like Matt said, prospective salespeople, importers. Yeah,
and then it's spread out from there very quickly. But the interesting for me in this whole thing is it wasn't shared with anyone in country. So you have all these private exporters kind of suddenly going, wait, what's the deal now? This can't be for all the coffee. Then on radio, the deal is announced for all of the remaining of the 2023 crop, all of 2024 crop, and all of 2025 crop at $8 a kilo.
This is so messy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now people are thinking like, okay, well, $8 a kilo, and that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, with the C price at $4, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that now. But we wind it back again to October now, and we're still at like $2.40.
Yeah.
So we're still in a position where this represents basically like almost a doubling of the actual price to get the coffee out, which is...
and it's not quality differentiated, right?
Yeah, it's an incredible ask to make.
Yeah.
Incredible ask to make. Q, again, a very busy 4 or 5 days trying to figure out what's going on. And it gets, well, to be honest, stranger and stranger. What comes out is that things weren't getting processed.
Right.
Contracts weren't getting processed. So, I don't know if you know the process in Burundi. The contracts are approved by the presidential office, like the Odeka board there. They're approved, and then that's okay. The FOT price is approved. Then yeah, okay, cool. Then your contract's approved, you can sell it.
So coffee contracts are approved by the government.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is it's a common thing in African countries. So that happens, and then normally you then have to submit the contract again for taxation. When the contract's submitted for taxation on the lots, you pay the tax, you show your receipt for paying the tax, and then you get the official stamp. And once the export documents are stamped, then you can load your truck and you can get it out, which presents other problems like finding a truck, tricky. Finding fuel, even harder. I mean, Burundi's by one measure the poorest country in the world.
Yeah, and landlocked.
Yeah, landlocked, has to ship out of Dar es Salaam, Mombasa. Like nominal GDP is less than $200 a head.
Right.
compared to the US, which is 82,000. So it's
right.
it's incredible how low the infrastructure is then. So you start to sort of see the wheels turning about why this deal may have been signed, because it comes with a 4-year plan to quadruple the output and bring in infrastructure gains. It's all very vague, but promises are being made here that will hopefully come out. So this kind of happens, and we very early on we get our contracts approved. We're like, great, fantastic. Then just before October comes around, it all goes quiet, and this turns out to be the case for pretty much everyone.
Everyone, yeah.
A select few got stuff out early, like late August, early September. Like a little bit of coffee left the country, not much. But it was like everyone else is kind of hanging on. So we start digging, and we find out a lot of crazy things. So
oh wait, this isn't the crazy. There's more crazy.
There's more crazy.
Oh no, there's more. So there's more. So
okay, wait. Also, for context, I don't source like really at all from Burundi. Like occasionally here and there, but it's not an origin that I really work a lot in. So Christopher kind of gave me like a little bit of a spark note, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to do too much reading on this before we have our conversation.
No, nice.
That's what I thought. That's why I'm like, oh, okay, that was the craziness. No, there's more.
No, I mean, a lot of that is just normal and long. I mean, the system is inefficient and time consuming, and it's the nature of a quote unquote democratic country that has one of the worst human rights records in the world. I mean, it's seen ostensibly as autocratic, but there is a vote every year, every couple of years or so. So we start having a look around. We start to like, okay, well, what can we find out about UIGUIL in particular? And it just appears to show up a whole completely different story from what was portrayed on the deck. In the deck, they're portrayed as having offices in Hong Kong, London, Sao Paulo, and it seems to be this large company. When you go digging deeper and when you look at the MOU is signed in Anguilla, I think, in the West Indies. They have a company based in Mauritius, but also an office in Texas. There is nothing that you can find about these guys, about turnover, about their previous investments, what they actually do. Turns out they might have been involved in a lot of infrastructure in East Africa besides that.
Right.
But it's really hard to get any clear, solid information. You start to see layers of businesses seemingly hiding within each other.
So who are these people?
I still don't know. And for all of the digging we've done, and I've been sharing this with a lot of trusted people, well, we just couldn't figure it out. We couldn't get to the bottom of what it was and what they were trying to do and how this happened. You don't want to say it was a scam, but it has all the makings of something that is a long con, a confidence game.
Yeah.
So I mean, bear in mind, this is 2 days. So we find out all this stuff about the thing on the 14th. By the 6th of October, by the 16th of October, we've tried to unravel this, and we're finding, hey, this is calls being made. No one knows what's going on. Everyone's confused. No coffee shipping. Great. Then things really kick off. So the World Bank, the US Embassy, USAID, ICO, SCA, and the ITC, all in some degree get involved. They're trying to talk to the government to find a solution to remove this blockage, because the government are just not signing contracts. Contracts are being submitted, they're not being signed and approved. So people are trying to export coffee. For whatever reason, nothing is happening in the government.
I don't know. I like answers to things.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I don't get answers, I get very upset. That's where I'm like, I just want to go bang on their door. Just like, hello, Mr. President. Like, what's going on? Like, I know that's not an option, but no. What?
It's a distinctly interesting situation. You're like, okay, we have a government that is, by looking at it, I think you take a step back and you're like, okay, they're trying to raise the price for their producers and bring more money into the country. This is a sensible thing.
Right.
This is how you improve the country. It just seems that the way they've gone about it was proposed in the deck, was to completely take over all export and set a historically high price at the time that was completely nonsensical. Now, obviously, the sea market has knocked that into a hat, but what can you do? So we are now at the 16th of October. In the 17th of October.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Turns out this company and this guy may well have been responsible for defrauding the Anguillam pension department.
What?
Like 14 years earlier.
Yeah, 14 years earlier, and you're like, okay. And this, by the way, is like this is just off a blog spot of all things. Do you remember Blogspot? No, you're probably too young. I still have a blog spot. They still exist.
Yes, they do.
I still have my Blogspot. So that's still going. So it's a 40-year-old blog. I was looking, going, this is just too much of a coincidence.
Yeah.
Had a little dig around.
Yeah, it's like the same names are mentioned, the same companies are mentioned. It's the same approach. Yeah. It's the same.
Yeah, it's kind of mad, isn't it? You're like looking and going, how do these two things match up? But approaching it in a completely different way. It's like, okay, here's coffee export and here's running a pension fund. Like, how do those two match up? Unless it really is for just the monetary gain. I also worried about the veracity of the source. So we did a little bit of digging and found out the guy who runs the blog seems pretty legit. He was a QC, which for UK, I don't even know. A QC is what the time called the Queen's Counsel, and it's now called the King's Counsel. They're basically the highest level of lawyer you can have in the UK or in the British justice system. They are the ones that will be able to testify, to litigate and defend in the Crown Court, which is the highest level of court.
I still think they should have kept it Queen's Counsel, but
they should have kept it Queen's Counsel. However, God rest her soul, she's gone, and now we have Chuck. Chuck. So he has a CBE, which is an honor given out by the royal family. He is a retired Queen's Counsel, so he seems pretty legit.
Yeah.
And here he is writing this blog trying to expose corruption within the local government. So it started to kind of make you think.
Get some legs.
Yeah. Make you think even more. Then we hear there'll be a meeting in 3 or 4 days' time, and that basically heads are going to be rolled. Like something's going on in the government. Heads are going to get smacked around. Some people are going to be killed, and it's basically going to blame this UIG.
Mm-hmm.
The international pressure has seemingly worked. It seemingly has managed to get things moving again. Or so we think.
It's important to note how much international aid, at least at the time, was flowing into Burundi from all these sources.
A huge amount.
And the repayment of that note usually comes from exports.
Yeah, for sure. And the financing of the next crop, which is going to be a massively relevant thing for 2025, is that there's still an enormous amount of 2024 crop financing that hasn't been repaid yet. Which is a wild thing to think about, seeing as they're about to announce a cherry price again, and they're about to start harvesting. So it goes quiet. It goes quiet for about a week. We don't hear anything. There's nothing. There's no more news coming out. Then we hear like a few containers might have got approved early, but they're not really sure who's getting stuff in and who's getting stuff out. Like one importer had basically everything rejected, even at the contract phase. We got some approved. Then we were stalled at the taxation stage. So it all went a bit strange. Then we hear from Hawksworth.
So Hawksworth was one of the parties in Project Brown. Yeah. They're kind of a marketing firm.
They are a marketing firm. So Hawksworth get in touch, and this email goes out to an awful lot of clients of exporters. Mm-hmm. So somehow they have got in touch with importers, and they've been basically blanket emailed everyone saying, hey, we can give you coffee. We have 14,000 tons to sell now.
This is like late October, early November.
This is late October, and we're in prime shipping season now.
Right.
You know, like if you're shipping later than this, it's common, annoyingly, because of just the delays of getting stuff out of Africa. But you're then starting to worry about when it's going to land. Mm-hmm. So they've been going out there trying to move this coffee. Nothing really comes of that, it appears.
Mm-hmm.
Then the 30th arrives, end of the month. Suddenly contracts seem to be getting signed.
Mysterious.
Yeah. What we have seen happen was maybe it was to do with the price.
Mm-hmm.
Some importers were looking at recalculating their prices so they could get a price to a threshold that allowed it to get approved. And this was the second stage. It is after taxation, so that it's approved for export. So you could actually get something moving if you could get it moving.
Right.
Great. We're thinking, okay, things are moving. Nope. Another week later. Another week later, somebody breaks the silence. Now, in amongst all of this, nobody's talking about it. Like, all these government agencies.
Yeah, internationally, there are no sources. No one's talking online. We didn't see any chatter. Maybe from just one or two people. That's
No,
it.
I mean, that's definitely for fear of reprisals in country, and the actual physical safety of these people. So you did not want to jeopardize a potential solution. You didn't want to put anyone at risk. So somebody does go public, and it's a UK based exporter importer, and there's a little worry about this. It goes out on Instagram. The best place where you want to make all these announcements.
I know. I'm like Facebook pages, Instagram.
Yeah, I mean,
Blogspot,
little Blogspot. Yeah. I mean, we are literally. If we go for LinkedIn, I'm happy and proud to announce that we are the exclusive exporters of Burundian coffee for 2024. We'd have a bingo right there. So they actually list quite a lot of what's going on, and it's really, really interesting that actually nothing came of it. So it was a risk. It was a risk to put this out there, but nothing came of it. And this happened on like the same day that we've managed to get to speak to more high government officials who have a direct link to the president, because that's the name of the game of this. The name of the game is, who do you know? Who can you talk to?
Right.
And that was the best thing. That was kind of, I guess, not the best thing, but it's the thing about all these large governmental agencies getting involved is they have links to the top. So that pressure is gonna tell at some point. So we're still only like 3 weeks on. On the 9th, contracts start to get approved. And it turns out a technical manager went away on a trip to China.
It was just like the classic, like, oh, they're out of the office. Sorry, we'll get to it when we get back.
I mean, I don't think it's even that. I think it has the feeling of next person up is like, I don't want to deal with this. Bam, done. Bam, done. Bam, done. Bam,
Incredible.
done.
Incredible.
And there's obviously some miscommunication within the government organization at some level. And whoever filled in wasn't told to not approve the contracts. So they approved the contracts. Cue a Keystone Cops-like chase for everyone to get their contracts in as fast as possible. Because if you can get them in and you can get them stamped, like, the race is on to get out of the country. Because the rest of it is just logistics. Yeah. I mean, this is the point. It took us 2 weeks from payment of the approval of tax and showing the receipt to get the official stamp, which means like the whole process was something like 10 weeks, 12 weeks.
Wow.
In a system where there is already like 4 to 6 weeks, but you're looking at something that's significantly longer than there never is.
I also just like feel so bad for that person. Like, they thought they were just doing their job. They probably got into so much trouble.
I mean, we don't know.
They got the money into the country though.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's it. I mean, the word is like, we've heard it's like it's the most stressful time of working in Burundi some people have ever had. And then it goes super quiet. Like, we literally hear nothing. This whole Project Brown, this whole UIG, it just disappears.
What?
Yeah.
It's gone. Like a vapor, like a wisp of wind. It's gone. There's really nothing.
I feel like, they got Nigerian Prince scammed, right? But I feel like we can now maybe call it something like Burundian Expo.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to say that that's what happened, but that's what it's pointing to.
Yeah.
All you can kind of hope is that these were made with best intentions to improve the infrastructure and everything in the country. But you also know that there's a real political issue here. Like, the guy's up for election. He wants to make an impact. He wants to get money to the country. This seems like a good deal. Hasn't looked into it. Takes it. We'll probably never know how this unfolds.
Right.
Oh my gosh, no.
And what really happened.
No.
Yeah.
This has to have an end.
Well, it kind of doesn't. In January, as much as 80% of Burundian coffee was still in warehouses waiting for export. And bear in mind that if they think their production is 30,000 tons, 300 million kilos, it's an awful lot of coffee sitting there, and 80% of that was yet to be sold come January. We're 3 months into the year, and they've reduced that from 80 to 50, and we're about to announce the cherry price again. But as we were discussing earlier, the real issue now is 2025.
Yeah.
And how this is going to cascade down in terms of liquidity, in terms of, the impending cherry price, which some believe may well be above 2,000 BIF. which would be another significant rise.
So all this coffee, it was paid for, right? So cherry was purchased, it was processed, it's been financed at this point for a year. And what happens? Is it going to be liquidated below cost? Who's going to bear the brunt of that?
It's really hard to say at this point. It's hard to say where, because what we don't know is how much of this is Odeka coffee,
right,
and how much of this is private exporters coffee.
Well, actually, I hear it's all UIG's coffee. That's what I'm told.
Which would be Odeka's coffee.
Yes.
Because this was like the little nugget that seemingly was, I know we skipped over it, but we did for a reason. Like after all of this whole thing was just for the Odeka coffee. Now, Odeka run 40% of the washing stations. So they control supply of 40% pretty much of the country's coffee. They have to approve the sale of everything else. So this whole deal of it being ostensibly for everyone's coffee was never for everyone's in the first place.
Right.
It's just they sold it as that.
Wait, it wasn't for everybody? They just said it was?
No. And I'm sorry. I know. I'm glad we left this to the end because it was a nice little reveal, huh? Plot twist. It was only ever for the Odeka coffee, but the way they could put the squeeze on, and the way that they could force people to buy their coffee and make their coffee attractive was to stop contract.
So they basically were just like, we're gonna put a stop and not approve anybody else's. So then the only coffee that's getting approved is from
so you
our
have to
40%. And then you have to buy that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what it appears to be, yeah.
Oh, these are like, I don't like this.
I mean, it's a tricky one. It was like, here we are now in the situation, like they need to sell this coffee. UIG have just disappeared, it seems. No one seems to hear about
also,
them.
Wait, I'm not over that. So they just it just went away?
Yeah, the whole thing just went away.
I'm like, did they make another Facebook post? Just kidding, we're done? Like, how? It just...
No. I mean, you kind of hope that they managed to get out of that MOU somehow, because otherwise they're still tied in to this contract.
Right.
This is chaos.
Yeah, it is. And it's not setting up a good 2025 season. The thing to add into, I think the other little layer on top of all of this is that it was a historically bad weather season for drying of naturals. So usually a natural output, especially of Arabica, is pretty high in Burundi. You tend to get some really, really clean, great quality naturals that are just going to be super complex. They're great. But the weather was so bad that we saw maybe a fifth of our usual production.
Wow.
We just couldn't dry naturals. So even then, there's usually, the added value of a natural coffee. So actually the money coming in is even lower because the average price of a wash coffee is going to be lower than the average price of a natural coffee.
Sure.
So the FOT price is lower than you think. So a tumultuous season, and one of the tricky problems of buying coffee in one of the poorest countries in the world with a incredibly low infrastructure and a very unstable governmental situation.
Yeah.
So what happens now?
What happens now is we try and make the best of another season, and you hope that we can get financing. And this is the thing about 2025 is financing is going to be even harder to find.
If I'm a buyer and I want to engage with Burundi this year, is there any way that I need to work differently with raw material or with whatever import partner?
Open your wallets. Put your money where your mouth is. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I actually think maybe the only thing that people can do and buyers can do is if you have bought Burundian coffee before, commit to buying it again.
Yeah,
because those commitments is what's going to help to get the financing. And then if you can help get the financing, we can be able to pay for the crops. We can pay for the crops. We can move the coffee.
That makes sense. Cool.
Yeah, it needs that. I think it needs that more than ever in a coffee buying world that kind of actually needs that more than ever. I think buyers have been very lucky to have everything served to them on a plate like Amazon.
Hey,
now we need. I mean, this was of the industry's making. Like
that's right.
Everything was easy, so we were able to provide services, and then people got used to the services. When the services are much harder to provide, it takes time for everyone to change their mindset to think I can get stuff on when it arrives easily. It's gonna come. It's be fine. I can get it. If I don't plan ahead, I might not get it. And that's, I think, the situation where we are. And that's definitely where we are with Burundi. Like, we're already planning Burundi 2025. We've already started to spec out our buying for the season so that we can commit to buying as much, if not more, as we did last year.
Amazing.
Means that we have to get out there early and do the legwork to get commitments from buyers on an unstable price.
2025.
I mean, that's one of the things. We don't know what it is yet. And they will set it high. And they will set it high based on, obviously, the market where it is. And the worry is, what if it crashes? I mean, it probably won't, right? All the data says it's going to take some time to track away, but
Yeah.
if it crashes, then they'll have an awful lot of coffee that will be very uncompetitive in the market. Again. Again. Oh, we're just kind of hoping we can unwind it this year and we have an easy season. It is election year, and historically that has also presented problems because the change of governmental bodies and change of people in the governmental bodies always creates a little bit of a delay.
Yeah.
So yeah, buy ahead or commit ahead and buckle up for the ride, because brewing coffee is a journey. It's a journey.
Matt, thanks for telling this wild tale.
Pleasure. And I'm looking forward to this episode and more down the line.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Whoa.
Yeah, how's this sitting with you?
Oh my
How's
gosh. I like almost made coffee before this and I didn't. And now I'm just like, "Blah." That was so insane.
Right. You think that occasional potato cup is the worst of Burundi's problems?
Yeah. I also like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to drop it, but I'm just like, who are these people? How did this come to be? Who decided on Project Brown?
I think it's funny. I
It's
don't
just
know.
like, I don't know. That Project Brown just sounds murky. You know what I mean?
I think I need to share my screen with you.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
please don't. Is it the deck? Oh,
I think it's hilarious that Hawksworth Advisors, they talk about how they're supported by an extensive network across Nigeria sectors. It's like literally a Nigeria Prince scam.
yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if this is a real email. Should we email this?
I kind of want to. Can we?
So at the end of this document, there is an email address for someone at Hawksworth. And Hawksworth presents itself as one of the 4 partners in Project Brown, saying that they're the lead advisors and agents here. They're a leading consulting firm specializing in strategy, financial optimization, and transaction services.
Can we email them?
I think
Yeah.
we should email. Yeah, I think we should see if they'll come on the show.
We saw your deck and we would love to talk about this more with you on our podcast. Imagine.
I think it's a great idea.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we have to email them. Watch, it immediately bounces.
Well,
Well,
I think that's it. Until next time.
this is buying season. Bye.